with our national anthem here tonight as we get you set for baseball. Game one, the Twins and the Cardinals. Cardinals baseball on Fox Sports Midwest is brought to you by Bud Light. With just the right taste, it never fills you up. The difference is drinkability. By Steak and Shake, famous for steak burgers. By Auto Tire. For the lowest prices in town, we shop the competitors so you don't have to. And by Chevy. See your Mid-America Chevy dealers or shop and compare at stlchevy.com. St. Louis Cardinals with a record of 40-34. Minnesota at 37-37. Game number 75 for St. Louis. And the Cardinals return home. It's been on the road for quite some time. And let's take a look at this Minnesota lineup. Denard Span was the difference in their ball game yesterday. Harris is the shortstop. Joe Mauer lead the league in hitting, .395. Not officially, though. We'll tell you why in just a moment. Justin Morneau, the former MVP, at .315. Jason Kubel, Michael Kadire, Joe Creedy, who grew up a Cardinals fan, Matt Tolbert, and Glenn Perkins, the pitcher, who throws from the left side. Adam Wainwright is our Marshall Wireless starter, and this will be his team-leading 16th start of the season.
Already an 8-game winner. He's got the most run support in the National League. He also leads the Cardinal starters with strikeouts and tied with Wellemeyer for the team lead in base on balls.
In his first game back after spending 15 days on the DL, there's a look at Joe Mauer. He'll be due up third in this inning. Inner ear infection that left him feeling dizzy, so Denard Span is back in their lineup, and he was a force at the top of that lineup yesterday in Milwaukee. This is our Domino's first pitch of the game. He drew 3 walks, hit a triple, scored 3 runs, and the Twins would win 6-4 over the Brewers at Miller Park. They really like this guy and say he's quite an athlete. And the first pitch is taken for a strike on a hot night here in St. Louis. And get ready for a hot afternoon tomorrow.
What makes you think it's warm?
Well, you're the only one that's cooled in at the ballpark, Al.
Game time temperature 91.
And that's strike 2. No balls and 2 strikes. The Cubbies already won their ball game as Giovanni Soto had a 3-run blast that proved to be the difference for Chicago. And that's just low. Not by much. Just missed a little low.
Left-handed batters are batting .273. Righties .237 against Adam. And each side has 6 home runs.
Span can run, so you got to be careful here. He puts it on the ground, and this time he lifts it in the air. 20th selection in 2002 after he had turned down a $2 million pre-draft offer from the Rockies, who would have picked him 9th, and that decision cost him nearly $1 million. And he spent 5 years in the minor leagues. And he was watching fellow first-rounders like B.J. Upton and Kazmir and Cole Hamels all making a name for themselves in the big leagues, and it took a while for him to get here. Good play by Schumacher for the first out. Take a look at the defense for the Cardinals. Ankiel, Rasmus, and Ludwig looking for hitting from the outfield. Thurston at third, Tyler Green at short. Schumacher, we just saw him and Pujols on the right side. And it's Wainwright and Molina, the battery. It's the Auto Tire defense. Tony La Russa and Ron Gardenhire, the managers in our ball game tonight.
A rare right-handed batter in the lineup for Minnesota tonight.
Brendan Harris looks at a strike.
And 5 left-handers and a switch hitter in their lineup.
This is where you see the American League team come to a National League park and really be at a disadvantage with their pitchers having to hit. As this is hit out of play, they right now 0 for 17 are the Minnesota pitchers in interleague play.
Well, Perkins, tonight's starter, in Minnesota, he's a Minnesota kid. And apparently they have the option where you can hit as a pitcher or you can have a DH. So when he got into interleague play last season, it was the first time he ever swung a bat since Little League.
And misses inside. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Minnesota has scored first in 10 straight away from the Metrodome. That's 2 shy of their Minnesota Twins record. There's a good breaking ball and a strikeout for Adam Wainwright, his first of the night. Nasty pitch here.
Last time out, Adam was a little bit off, but Dave Duncan felt like he was really close. And if he can start seeing that You know, he gets his motion under control where he's throwing more strikes and really going out there and be the weapon and the warrior that we think he is. You know, he's had such an up and down season, but he's amongst the league leaders in wins. So you really got to sit there and say, you know, he's got a chance for the All-Star game. You talk about curveballs, there was the one in the 70s.
Well, I mentioned during the pregame show in my visit with Bert Blyleven, 287 wins, all the strikeouts. How is he not in the Hall of Fame? That's ridiculous. His numbers speak for themselves.
Not only that, Dan, and boy, this is Adams throwing a few pitches that must be down in the zone because they're in the heart of the plate, but not getting the call. But you know, Blyleven was just such a warrior and really had the most dominant curveball of that era.
2-0 pitch. They talk about Joe Mauer waiting for the ball to come to him, meaning that he's so confident with his hands that he can catch up on fastballs, that he'll take pitches. He doesn't mind swinging with 2 strikes, and he's very quiet at the plate, very similar to Pujols.
Well, he's a 2-time American League batting champion, and he is the only catcher in American League history to win a batting title.
Here's a 2-1 pitch. There was even talk at one point, because of the demand of being a catcher, moving him to third base or having him DH more or move to first, and he won't hear of that.
No, he wants to catch. You know, he's a local product from St. Paul, 6'5", you know, so he's not he's one of the taller catchers there's ever been.
Here's a 3-1 pitch, and that's outside. So a 2-out walk here to Joe Mauer that brings in Justin Morneau, who has won the MVP.
That's why they have the M&M boys are, you know, just much more than just Mauer.
Morneau from Canada. Speaking of Canada, I spoke to Larry Walker today, and he said he was going to tune in not just to see the Cardinals, but he and Morneau are very good friends.
And congratulations publicly. Said it to Larry over the phone and had a response from text-wise, but in his induction into the Canadian Hall of Fame.
And he went in with Ernie Witt, the former Blue Jay star.
Of course, Dave McKay told me he only got elected because he knew McKay.
I'm sure Dave would say that. So 2 of the best in the game standing side by side, Mauer and Pujols. Mentioned Mauer's size, and he was a terrific 3-sport athlete coming out of that area. He was a great basketball player and also a football player, had a scholarship to Florida State if he elected to take it. And he and Morneau are best of friends. Not only the 1-2 punch in this lineup, but when they met each other, Morneau was 20 and Mauer was 18, and they were in camp and spring training. And Morneau is a huge hockey fan, and one of the first times they ever got together, he made Mauer take slap shots at him, and that's how they became good buddies. And they can also hit. They're great players. A 2-1 pitch. Two balls and 2 strikes with 2 outs and a runner at first. But just like Larry Walker, Morneau wanted to be a hockey player. Outfield is deep and straight away. Morneau with 16 home runs and 58 RBIs. Breaking ball in the dirt, 3-2.
Another thing we have in common between the 2 catchers, both of them are the reigning American and National League Gold Glove winners.
That's what really gets overlooked with Mauer. Everybody knows he can hit, but
and he even says that may be one of the things he's more proud of the Gold Glove than he is of the 2 batting titles. Kind of talked about it in the open a little bit, but Mauer hitting for more power this year.
Unexpectedly, too. He's off with this pitch, and that's outside. Back-to-back walks. So Gold Gloves and awards in this game for Mauer and Pujols and Molina, Morneau. The 2 Gold Glove winners behind the plate in 08. Yadier Molina and Joe Mauer. The big question in Minnesota right now is that they have Morneau locked up. He got a 6-year extension, $80 million. Can they lock up Mauer? He's a free agent after next year. And both Boston and New York will be looking for catching. So good luck.
Well, Minnesota can't pay the price tag.
You would figure, though, Al, I would assume that him being a hometown guy,
right, they'll do everything possible.
Sure. He is the face of the franchise, no doubt. Back-to-back walks, and here's Kubel. Good pitch. 0-2.
Sometimes you really think that Adam gets away from his fastball, especially early in the game. You know, a lot of teams trying to establish it, but as we saw, only one bad inning can do you in. That's what happened to Carpenter yesterday.
Here's the 0-2. Blocked by Molina. Runners at first and second. And 2 outs. One and 2 the count. A broken bat, base hit into right field. The Twins have an early 1-0 lead. Morneau is safe over at third base. Mauer scores the first run of this game. Back-to-back walks and a broken bat, base hit. First in this game. Kubel now with 41 driven in.
That's it, Dan. You know, those walks that come back to get you. Instead of getting inside where Molina wanted, a little bit more over the plate, but he still shatters the bat. And in this case, probably kept that ball from carrying all the way to Ludwig. But those walks, even though you do it to dangerous hitters, you've got to get the next guy out or they'll kill you.
They have now scored first in 11 straight on the road.
You know, when the Cardinals score first, they usually win.
Here's Kadire. Runners at first and third. Huge crowd here tonight. One pitch. Mentioned it was just one bad inning for Carpenter. Really just one bad pitch.
One bad pitch is exactly right. You can't really say that that was necessarily a bad pitch because he shatters the bat.
Minnesota a year ago, 3rd in the American League in runs scored. It's a foul tip. 8th in runs allowed at just under 5. And they finished 88 and 75, second place in the American League Central with baseball's 7th lowest payroll.
It's always been a franchise that's got the most out of the least. And I mean, Ron Gardenhire, who grew up in Oklahoma, had to be a Cardinal fan growing up, but he's a good baseball man. Took over for a good one in Tom Kelly.
Hard hit to third. Thurston bobbles it, stays with it, not in time. 2-0 Minnesota. An error on Joe Thurston. No RBI on the play. E5.
It's Thurston's team leading 9th error. Ball hit hard, but right at him. So I mean, it's not even a tough play at this level. Just lost the handle of it. Couldn't just relax, pick it up. And Albert did a good job of coming off the bag on a low throw.
They've also made moves that seem to make sense on paper, like picking up a Joe Creedy, who was public enemy #1 when he was with the White Sox, and now he's with Minnesota. He talked about what a thrill this is for him to face the Cardinals. He grew up a Cardinal fan, grew up in a town about halfway between St. Louis and Kansas City, right in the middle of Missouri. And the Twins now with a 2-0 lead. Also Bob Keppel, St. Louisan in the bullpen for Minnesota from DeSmet High School.
Creedy's got showing good power. The average is down, but American League, they really care about production.
Popped up on the infield. Tyler Green calls for it. Minnesota scrans 2, but they scored 2 in the top of the first. Bottom of the first. One of those runs unearned. The lineup for Tony La Russa tonight: Skip Schumacher, Colby Rasmussen, Albert Pujols, Ryan Ludwig, Ricky Ankiel, and Yadier Molina, Joe Thurston, Adam Wainwright, and Tyler Green. They will face a lefty for the Minnesota Twins. Glenn Perkins is our Marshall Wireless starter.
Well, this second year, man, he won 12 games last year, and he didn't start the season at the big league level. Off to a slow start and 0-2 on the road with an ERA over 10.
Their pitching, though, overall has been pretty good.
Yeah, you might look at Tony's lineup and kind of be fooled by it with all the left-handed bats in there, but Perkins actually has more trouble against left-handed batters. Lefties have hit .375 against him, righties .258, but that's not uncommon with left-handed starters.
Third most wins by a rookie in Twins history. It was 12 a year ago.
Another home, or it's in the state of Minnesota, where he grew up. Went to the University of Minnesota.
And caught the corner on the outside. 2-2. They're pitching Francisco Liriano, Slowy, Scott Baker, Glenn Perkins here, Nick Blackburn. All between the ages of 24 and 27. Fought off, and Creedy is there, who's pretty sure-handed over at third. So good start here for Perkins. Auto Tire defense: Kubel, Span, and Kadire. Creedy, Harris, Tolbert, Morneau. And the battery is Perkins and Mauer. Twins defense presented by Auto Tire. Here's Colby Rasmus, and the outfielders need to pick it up for the Cardinals offensively. And a swing and a miss. Mentioned that Carpenter was just one mistake, a double in yesterday's ball game, a double down the right field line off the bat of Nick Evans, as the largest crowd ever at Citi Field. So the Cardinals drop 3 of 4. The Cardinals managed just 12 runs in the series and 6 combined in the final 3 games. For Carpenter now, 10 starts. He has a personal record of 5-2, an ERA that's just over 1. But the Cardinals are only 5-5 in those starts, and Carpenter's not getting any run support. It's the lowest in baseball at just 2 runs of support per game.
He's getting 2 runs. We documented how Pinheiro of late was getting very little run support, think what he's up to 11 in about his last 6 starts. Hard to win as this offense is stagnant.
The outfielders 2 for 40 in the series.
2 for 40, and both of those hits, a Ludwig home run and an Ankiel double, came in the losing cause. So if Albert doesn't become a one-man show, you know, it's hard for this team to score. That's why you got to get guys on in front of him, and the guys that are getting hits are usually singles.
It's slap foul and out of play. Rasmus has seen his average dip to 265. 7 home runs, 28 RBIs, and the number 2 spot in the lineup has usually been a spot that is meant to get somebody going.
Well, he leads all National League rookies in home runs and RBIs, but over his last 16.
And he strikes out.
This accentuates all the more why to pitch around Albert Pujols.
Yep. They don't see Albert on an everyday basis, and if you're Minnesota coming in, you're looking at the numbers and the charts. No reason to pitch to Albert Pujols.
No, it's you know, even in this case, okay, you're up 2-0. He can't tie the game, but still, you know, you got 2 outs. You got to have the confidence. Okay, I'm not going to throw anything down the middle. As he throws one right down the middle. And I'm not going to let him beat him. Albert, smart thing. Most good hitters will take the first pitch from a pitcher they've never seen.
And that's a fair ball just inside that first base line. Albert with a 2-out double. Joe Mauer was talking about that, Al, before the game. In interleague play, a 2-time batting champion, and I mentioned before how he doesn't mind hitting with 2 strikes, and he said especially in interleague play, I want to take pitches because I just want to get a look, and he says I don't mind taking 2 strikes.
Right, and that's what good hitters do. Pitcher they've never seen, you know, they go up there and they want to stand in the batter's box. They want to see what it looks like when that pitcher winds up, delivers a pitch. That was the philosophy of Ted Williams. It should be the philosophy of a lot more.
Ryan Ludwig with 2 outs and a runner at second base. In the air to shallow right field. Kadire. Cardinals strand Pujols at second base. And after an inning of play, 2-0 Twins. Two to nothing, Minnesota with the lead here in the top of the second. If you're traveling and can't catch the Cardinals TV broadcast, catch all the action on your computer at MLB.tv. Over 100 live out-of-market games per week. STLCardinals.com to find out more. It's where baseball is always on. The All-Star logo atop the arch. And the various arches around St. Louis as we gear up for the All-Star game. Here's Matt Tolbert, the second baseman, the 8th place hitter, followed by Glenn Perkins, the starter. Then the top of the lineup, Span. Wainwright retired the first two in the first with a ground out and a strikeout, then back-to-back walks. Broken bat base hit by Kubel and an error by the third baseman Joe Thurston, and a 2-0 Minnesota lead. Here's the 0-2 pitch. Up the middle and a base hit. So an 0-2 pitch results in a base hit. We'll see now if Perkins can sacrifice.
Perfectly placed. Try to get in on him. And another jam shot, but muscles hard enough to get it through the infield.
Ron Gardenhire, as you mentioned, Al, grew up a Cardinals fan. He grew up listening to Cardinals baseball in Oklahoma on KMOX radio and the great reach of the station. Perkins gets it down. The sacrifice is good. It'll go 1-4. It's a light-hitting shortstop and a member of the New York Mets in the early 80s. He talked a little bit about Whitey Ball on the AstroTurf of Old Busch Stadium. He said it was the fastest team he had ever seen. He said everybody was stealing bases back then.
Even Darryl Porter, he made note of. He's a good guy. I've been around him a little bit over the years, and you know, he just has a lot of fun. You know, teams perform underneath him, and you see the playoff appearances that he's had.
First return to St. Louis for the Twins in 8 years. Here's Denard Span. Grounded to second, first time up. Rematch of the 1987 World Series. A series in which each team won every home game. The home team would win. Ripped foul. That was the first time ever. That's hard to believe. First time ever that had taken place where the home team won every game of the World Series. Since then, 2 other times it's happened. Minnesota did it over Atlanta. There it is. And Arizona over the Yankees, that memorable World Series of 2001. Minnesota with the 6 home runs. It was the speedy Cardinals team back in 1987.
I was up there helping Bob Gibson do some radio post-game stuff with KMOX at that time. And we had to listen to all that stuff, all that noise.
Ricky Horton will tell you that big wheel and big blower behind home plate certainly was turned on when Minnesota was at the plate. That's off of Wainwright. Span is out at first, so they catch a break here, and let's hope Adams okay.
I thought I caught him maybe on the heel or the sole of the shoe, because he's not showing any effects at all. We have to check on him. But watch, ball right back up the middle, and it gets him on the heel. I'm not sure which leg, but Wainwright saying, I'm fine.
They said the Metrodome, it was blowing out when Minnesota was at the plate.
Oh, yeah.
They would turn it off.
That's what the rumor is. Couldn't convince Ricky or the Cardinals, but
Ricky stands by it.
You know, but you know how reliable is he?
He's only our main analyst on the post-game show, Al.
Well,
I've got all my faith in the world in Ricky.
No, I was just, for people that may doubt, he's also the executive director of the Fellowship of Christian Athletes here in St. Louis. So I think the Cardinal fans believe him, but the Minnesota will swear that did not happen.
I'm sure. 2 outs and a runner at third. No balls and 1 strike on the second place hitter, Brendan Harris, who struck out first time up. Cardinals were ready to get home after dropping 3 of 4 against the New York Mets. Last time out for Adam Wainwright, he threw 6 innings, allowed 5 runs against the Royals in his last start. But the Cardinals offense, though, piled up the runs. It's his 3rd win in a row. He surrendered 3 runs in the first inning and a solo homer in the second, but the Cardinals offense was rolling in Kansas City. They had 29 runs in the series against the Royals and then shut down by the Mets.
Hitting's contagious, and everybody had the hitting shoes on in Kansas City, but then the Mets Sure, we saw some good pitching, but we didn't see that much.
Runner at third and a 2-1 pitch. 2-2. All-time Minnesota 8-2 against the Cardinals at the Metrodome. The Cardinals 10-2. This includes the World Series at home against Minnesota.
Cardinals second best in the National League in interleague play over the years, and the Twins are tied with the Yankees for the best record. And that would be all time in Major League Baseball.
In the dirt, another good block by Molina. Getting beat up tonight.
Already 44 pitches thrown. That's what I'm saying. A lot of times that, early in a game, you establish the fastball. You find your spots with that. But he's had to work against every single hitter.
A 3-2 pitch. Rounded foul. A couple of nights ago, Tony was none too pleased with that sloppy shutout loss. And really one of the ugliest losses of the season against the Cardinals.
Even as bad as that was, that's easy to kind of forget. You put it aside, especially when you had the Santana-Carpenter matchup the next day, you kind of forget about it. But he just knows this is going to be a struggle for Adam right now.
Strikeout of Harris. He's 0 for 2. 2-0.
Pepper and some Fire Grilled. Try Chili's new Fire Grilled quesadillas starting at $6.99. Flame grilled tortillas layered with chicken, bacon, cheese, and ranch.
On Fox Sports Midwest.
National game of the week on Fox, and it's the Cubs and White Sox. Fox Saturday Baseball this week at 3. We've had a lot of people ask us if the game time tomorrow has been changed, and it has not. I want to make sure that you know all game tomorrow is at 12:10. 12:10 tomorrow afternoon. Todd Wemelmeyer and Kevin Slowey. Slowey is 10-2.
Apparently the city asked the Cardinals to change the game time, thinking of the sweltering heat and the discomfort of the fans, or worried about, as there has been a few deaths here in the St. Louis area due to the heat wave, and Cardinals just felt it was just too much. You just couldn't change the time, so it is the regular scheduled time.
1 ball, 1 strike on the road trip. Rick Ankiel was 5 for 27. Ankiel, Molina, and Thurston for the Cardinals here in the bottom of the second.
As a lot of the guys that really only had 1 hit in New York.
Chopped to short. Harris with it and makes the play. And it brings in Molina. I was talking with Colby Rasmus before the game, and he felt that Molina had gotten all of that final pitch against Rodriguez the ball game yesterday, and he gave it a ride. But that is such a spacious ballpark, and a lot of the players were talking about it where they felt they centered some of the balls that normally would be out in a good majority of the parks, but stayed in at Citi Field.
Well, I thought he centered it, but he might have had a little top spin on it. Tough play here for Brendan Harris, a shortstop, kind of in between hops, so good to see him use two hands. That helps him with the exchange and a nice play.
Exmo Cam presented by Hot Shot Sports Bar and Grill, 1 block south of the ballpark. They'll be busy during the upcoming All-Star festivities. 0-2. No balls and 2 strikes with 1 out, nobody on. Big gap in the left center.
Outfield playing extremely deep, aren't they? Shading him a little bit to the opposite field, which we would agree with, but maybe a bit too deep.
1-2 pitch. Tolbert is there and makes the play. We didn't get into it enough, but how about Bert Blyleven? He's got to be in the Hall of Fame.
Why are you changing the subject about the Cardinal offense?
Oh, just looking for little different subjects to talk about.
I would agree. And I told you recently I played against Bert. He's a few years younger, but in high school. In the same league.
The Dutchman.
The Dutchman. He was born in Holland.
That's right. Broke in with the Twins in 1970. He was 19. Yep, 19 at the time. And retired at the age of 42.
23 years of fun and games, as he said. Known as a prankster.
Pitched with Texas, Pittsburgh, Cleveland, and California.
And he was on a couple with Pittsburgh when they won.
Yes, he was.
So, I mean, that adds to the credentials.
They have their anniversary coming up. Do the Pirates, their championship team. 2-1 with 2 outs. Now, you know, the Cardinals would love to make a deal along with a lot of teams around baseball, but the asking price right now is just so high.
Well, and everybody's looking for the same thing. So much parity that even clubs that are on the bottom feel like they still, with a hot streak, could get back into a pennant race.
2-2 pitch. Now the Twins are looking for a little bit of a bullpen help. Just released Luis Ayala and called up Bobby Keppel, the St. Louisan out of DeSmet High School.
Some people believe the first trade that is made, that team is going to severely overpay. But usually there's a domino effect. Once one team adds something, then others have to follow.
2-2 pitch. And another foul tip. Cardinals give Wainwright nearly 8 runs a game. Ron Gardenhire this year has used 70 different starting lineups. Tony La Russa a season ago, 140 different lineups. 2-2 pitch. Swung on and missed, and a strikeout. Second of the night for this lefty. Mauer is due up first when we come back. support. Last 3 starts, Wainwright 33 runs in support. This season total 10 starts for Carpenter, and you see he's only had 20 runs in his support. Twin fans are here. We've heard them with the base hits and the RBIs and the ground outs that have been fielded by their club.
They're more than welcome to spend their money in St. Louis.
Saw a bunch of them over at Mike Shannon's before the game. That pitch is a strike to Joe Mauer. Mauer with a walk and a run scored. It's Mauer, Morneau, and Kubel here in the third. And a curveball is hit into right field for a base hit. Mauer on base for the second time. And it brings in Morneau.
Has 14 home runs this year. His career high in the season was 13. But you see that breaking ball trying to backdoor it, just gets too much of the plate and ends up belt high. It's not a good curveball. You saw how he adjusted as he recognized curveball was slow enough to where he could reset himself and pull the trigger.
Mauer is single, and they still haven't replaced the eye in Big Mac land. And
I'm going to tell you something. If I were from a marketing standpoint, I wouldn't replace it, because we talk about it every night now that it's not replaced.
And I'm sure that's the point. Here's a 1-0 pitch. Drilled into right center field, and the catch made by Rasmus. I was about to say, though, Mauer's one of those guys that just likes to get away from the game when he can. He's built a log cabin just outside the city. He's been in the on the cover of Sports Illustrated, and big question surrounding him: could he hit 400?
He's on the cover this week,
right,
of Sports Illustrated, and his answer always is, "Hey, it's June." Remember, he missed April too.
And it'll be right around the All-Star break, as long as he gets his 3 at-bats, 4 at-bats a game, where he'll register with enough at-bats to be the league leader in hitting. Not quite there yet. Here's Kubel at the broken bat RBI single. And an 0-1 pitch.
You have to have 502 at-bats to qualify for the season batting championship, and it usually is predicated, I think, on 3.2 at-bats per game.
52 pitches already. On the outside corner and a strike.
Well, that's the part of the problem, you know, with the heat here, with the day game tomorrow and Sunday. There's going to be scorching. You know, you've got to get quick outs so you can go deep in this game and save the bullpen.
1-2, slowly hit to Pujols. Fair ball. He'll step on the bag for out number 2. So 2 outs and a runner at second base. Dyer will be the hitter. Reached on an error back in the first, and that brought in the second run, Morneau. Final homestand before the All-Star break. We've got the Fan Fest starting up weekend before the All-Star game. So if you don't have a ticket to the actual game, the 80th All-Star game, make sure you bring your family down to the Fan Fest.
I think they just had the celebrity softball game and futures game tickets go on sale right now.
Brett Wallace and Darryl Jones will be part of the futures game. Darryl Jones, the minor league player of the year for the Cardinals. He's at Double-A Springfield. And Brett Wallace is at Triple-A, the first round pick from a year ago, hitting .266 at Memphis. 1-0 pitch to Dyer. Grounded left side and a base hit. A throw to the plate. Here it comes. Oh, he got him. What a throw. And Kale, Molina, and they cut him down. A BB to the plate. Still Rick Ankiel as he walked off the field, and a strong throw here from left field.
Bounces through here, but Rick Ankiel gets to it quickly, and he gets to it about the time Maurer was touching third. Strong, accurate throw right there as he slides to the inside side as Molina set up on foul territory, and a real good look. Catches it all the way in the air, and just Maurer runs right into the tag.
Expo Cam brought to you by Hot Shot Sports Bar and Grill.
And maybe that will pick up the offense a little bit. It should pick up Wainwright, who will bat here and lead off the third.
So not even on a hop, a line drive throw, and Wainwright shoots it into center field for the first out. Six Flags Day at Busch Stadium. Join us at the park on Saturday, June 27th. The Cardinals play the Twins, and all fans 48 inches and under receive a free ticket to Six Flags. For Cardinal tickets, number to call 345-9000. Visit us online at stlcardinals.com.
Tyler Green has a 3-game hitting streak going on. 3 for his last 6. He was a 300 hitter on the road, but Brendan Ryan kind of banged up all over the place, sitting this one out. Not only does Brendan have that tendonitis in his wrist, but he kind of got jammed on that final at bat, hurt his thumb, but he's got back, leg issues, kind of, just general soreness.
Khalil Green not in the lineup tonight.
I think that is the fact that Perkins, even though he's a left-hander, struggles against left-handed hitters, and so you put Thurston in.
High strike and a late call, and Tyler Green is the third strikeout victim of the Cardinals.
Well, Perkins won 12 games last year, only 2 this season. See the high target, and right down the middle, right where Bauer asked for it. But Perkins 0-2 on the road this year and an ERA over 10.
Brings in Schumacher with 2 outs and nobody on. And that's taken a little bit low. Minnesota second place in the American League Central Division.
People following the Twins will tell you that Perkins kind of has a rough inning or 2, loses concentration, and then those are the times you have to jump on him.
1-1 pitch. Schumacher hits it to short. Harris there, and the Cardinals go quietly in their half of the third. Creedy, Tolbert, Perkins due up. Minnesota Twins, team named after the Twin Cities area of Minneapolis and St. Paul. That'll stay in the ballpark. Ludwig is there and puts it away. Creedy retired for the first out. Cardinals baseball on Fox Sports Midwest, brought to you by Kia Motors. To learn more, visit kia.com. By Aflac, we've got you under our wing. And by the Casino Queen, home of the loosest slots. The Twins have played in the Metrodome since 1982. Next year they'll play in Target Field. This is a team that survived largely due to a court decision which forced them to play out their lease at the Metrodome.
And they'll go into their new open-air stadium, which I was talking to Ron Gardenhire about.
A fly ball out to left, going back and Keel. Plenty of room to make the catch.
And he was saying that people say, "Oh, don't worry about it. That you know, they've got heaters in there, so they can melt the snow. They can do that." And he said, "Yeah, it'll turn into mud."
Which is probably right. North Star is making this Sunday extra special Ice Cream Sundays, beginning 2 hours prior to the game in the Ford Plaza. Join us for music, fun, games, and don't forget free ice cream while supplies last. North Star Ice Cream Sundays.
And City wanted their now deceased owner to put up the $150 million to put in the roof. Polad, who passed away, I think, this offseason.
You can see it there on the right sleeve, Carl.
Yeah. And he said no. They put in a healthy chunk as their portion to contribute to the new stadium.
And a strikeout of Glenn Perkins. We'll talk about the history of the Minnesota Twins when we come back, as the rookie Colby Rasmus is due up first when we return. Major League Service. Go online to StubHub, the official fan-to-fan ticket marketplace of the St. Louis Cardinals, and the only site with Fan Protect guarantee. Rasmus, Pujols, and Ludwig for the Cardinals. 1960 baseball granted Minneapolis expansion team, and Calvin Griffith asked that Washington, he was the owner of the Washington club, if they could get an expansion team so he could move it to Minneapolis. Baseball said yes. They moved to Bloomington, Minnesota after the 1960 season, and they played at Metropolitan Stadium. Washington, of course, got the Senators. They eventually moved to Texas, became the Rangers back in the early 70s. Colby Rasmus leads it off. The Twins Senators have had 3 World Series championships back in 1924. Of course, 87 we talked about, most recently 1991.
I thought that the Twins over the years under Calvin Griffin really did not provide much money for their scouts to sign players. They did one unbelievable job in drafting and signing players for such little money.
Now baseball back in the nation's capital. They're not drawing. They have their new stadium. Contraction was the big word around the Minnesota Twins for years. Colby, a lazy fly ball into left center field. Who wants it? Left fielder will take it. That's Kubel. And it brings in Pujols. All Pujols all the time.
Cardinals have one hit. Albert has one hit. Seems like that's the way things go, isn't it?
Yep. And again, it begs the question, why pitch to Pujols? Firestone leaderboard at the top of your screen. But they've got a great tandem in Minnesota, obviously, to build around when you got Mauer and Morneau. Trying to think of probably the most recognizable tandem in the American League over the last couple of years. Maybe Manny Ramirez and David Ortiz.
In a small market like Minnesota, everybody knows the M&M boys.
They had Oliva and Carew, Puckett, Herbeck, championship teams. 1 ball, 1 strike. Albert with a fly ball into shallow right field. Kadire over, calls for it. He's got it. So 2 away, and it brings in Ludwig.
Our director, Tom Mee, his father was the very first employee that Calvin Griffith hired for the Twins, and Mr. Mee was there, almost 40 years as the 42 as the PR director, and then was the official scorer for many years.
So he was the one to blame all those years.
Oh no, oh no.
Popped up and out of play. This will find the seats.
You know, Dan, when the Players Association really and Marvin Miller really took hold, you know, Gussie Busch really took it almost as a personal insult the very first strike, because he was so good to the players. But what Gussie didn't realize, and what everyone else in baseball, is they said, okay, we have a few owners that are extremely good, the O'Malleys, the Cronkies, the Bushes, but then we have Calvin Griffith. And that was almost the rallying cry. He was, and there you see Gussie and number 85 on the left field wall to symbolize Mr. Busch.
Fly ball out to deep center. That'll stay in the ballpark, and the Cardinals again go 1-2-3. 1 base hit tonight after 4. It's 2-0. His 5th consecutive shutout by blanking the Pirates 3-0, one shy of the MLB record set earlier in the month by Don Drysdale. June 26, 1968, our Schnooks this date in baseball history. As we talked about the other night, Jamie Moyer has tied Bob Gibson for wins. Bob, of course, though, with 255 complete games and 251 wins. Remarkable.
Go back to this date in history. You know, that was when Drysdale was setting that record that eventually Oral Hershiser broke. Bob was right on pace with him. At that same time, it fell a little short.
0-1 pitch. On the ground to Pujols. Race to the bag. Wainwright is there. Span retired. Adams starting to settle in. Now 63 pitches on the night. Harris has struck out twice as he has not figured out the breaking ball of Adam Wainwright.
Problem is, on a hot night like this, when you start settling in, fatigue also is settling in with you too.
I thought you said it wasn't hot.
It's not hot. You know what? It's a state of mind. How do you think players played on the turf?
Well, they had lettuce to help them out.
Good, quick there, Dan. No, they had mind over matter. 140, 145 degrees of turf on the day games. He also didn't know any better.
Down the left field line and a foul ball. Well, if you wanted to play in the big leagues,
that's it.
There you go. This is the field.
Just about every National League city was a multi-purpose stadium with turf.
All the cookie cutters, Pittsburgh, Philly, Busch Stadium,
Cincinnati.
And you know, the Cardinals really did do a nice job with the second Busch Stadium in making it baseball friendly, but it still had that cookie cutter look to it. Couldn't do anything about that.
They probably did the best job of any of them as you know, once they took the turf out and started putting in grass surface.
Curveball, see you later. Harris has struck out 3 times, all on those breaking balls.
3 of the 4 strikeouts that Adam has tonight has been Mr. Harris. Hello, goodbye, Uncle Charlie, here we come. They do have some curveball pitchers in the American League, don't they?
Yes, they do. They see those. You should probably explain what it was like when you were playing, though, that the National League and American League style of pitching.
There was a huge difference, and a lot of it, you know, was with the American League umpires. They wore the balloon chest protector, this big cumbersome chest protector that they stood much higher, and in a very simplified form, the strike zone was a higher strike zone in the American League. The National League chest protector was the inside that they all wear today, and so they could get down lower behind the catcher. That was known as more of a low ball league.
Mark Pryor could have been a Minnesota Twin, and Joe Mauer could have been a Chicago Cub. It was a situation. Signability was the big issue. Pryor had come out and basically said what he wanted, millions of dollars. The Twins said no thanks. We'll go with our hometown guy. They wanted to go with a high school player as well. And here's Joe Mauer, 2 batting titles later, and the face of the franchise.
I don't think anybody in Minnesota is regretting the fact that they didn't sign Pryor.
And Pryor very well could be done.
Yes.
He's still in the Padres organization, but dealing with arm issues. And Mauer hits one foul. Now, Mauer has talked about one of the things that he did as a little boy, all the way up until high school, was that he had a coffee can that would drop the ball, had a little contraption that actually dropped the ball where the home plate area would be. So he's 6'5", so at that time he's not that big, so it would drop it from his ceiling, and he would try to hit it as it would drop to quicken his hands. He said it really helped his hand-eye coordination. That pitch looked like a strike.
Pretty quick hands if you drop the ball out of the can and re-grip the bat and swing at the same time, huh?
Well, I'm sure he had a little help with various parts of it.
And probably did not know when the ball would fall, which that would be the quick one. Adam was a little upset earlier in the count when a breaking ball was not called, and then he walks him for the second time.
So Mauer on 3 times, and it brings in Morneau. Morneau is hitting well above 300, 16 home runs, 58 RBIs. A lot of the players that do come out of Canada are from British Columbia. Morneau hails from there. Larry Walker was from there. Jason Bay, Russell Martin, Jeff Francis.
Isn't it amazing how many Canadian players are now in the big leagues?
Real Cormier was
a rare one who was from Quebec, from the suburbs of Montreal. French Canadian.
1-0 pitch. Foul back. Speaking of Montreal, the Blues will have their draft, the NHL draft tonight. From Montreal, we'll get you updated as we find out about their first pick.
Dave McKay from Canada and also a member of the Canadian Hall of Fame. Played with Ernie Whitt, one of the new recipients.
And a 1-1 pitch to Morneau. Larry Walker almost had 400 home runs, well over 1,000 RBIs, over a 300 hitter. And in talking with him today, I said, you did it clean. And he said, yeah, it is amazing to see all these guys that are ahead of me, you know, being recognized for what they've done on the field. He said, I'm not here to point fingers, but my numbers aren't too shabby, and I did it clean. Out to center field. Rasmus makes the catch. Twins strand a runner. It's 2-0 Minnesota. AT&T, the nation's fastest 3G network. AT&T, your world delivered. Nice job by the guys in the truck, the guys and gals putting that together. That does get you up to date. It's 2-0. It was a broken bat single. Throw by Rick Ankiel to make it and keep it at 2-0. And the Twins lead it. Didn't see much hitting from the Cardinals because they only have one hit. A double by Albert Pujols, Ankiel, Molina, and Thurston. You could even sense it from the crowd, the frustration watching this. And there's a base hit by Rick Ankiel out to left. They know what's going on.
Breaks an 0 for 10 string the Cardinals had against Perkins. Ball out away from him. That's what they feel, that Perkins makes enough mistakes out over the plate that if the Cardinal hitters, and particularly left-handers, if they make some passes and try and hit it to the opposite field, that'll help out. Molina, not only the reigning Gold Glove catcher in the National League, but does a really excellent job working with his pitchers, trying to get everything he can for his pitcher. He's been having a running battle with their home plate umpire, doing it in a way, a professional way, where nobody really knows it other than the umpire and Yachty, but pleading his case several times for some of Wainwright's close pitches to be called strike.
Pittsburgh leads Kansas City 5-3. They had a walk-off win against Cleveland last night. Popped up off the bat of Molina. A lot of balls hit in the air tonight by the Cardinals. Morneau is called off by the second baseman Tolbert. For Blues fans out there, they have drafted a defenseman, David Rundblad, an offensive defenseman from Sweden, 6'2", 200 pounds. You know, we've got every Blues game next year on Fox Sports Midwest.
And there's no bigger fan of hockey than myself.
I've seen you at so many games over the years. You're a fixture.
When you don't see me, I'm tuned in because I want to see that great game and the broadcast skills of you and Bernie and
Now here's Joe Thurston.
John Kelly, and just the pictures. I want to see it come to life in my home.
Can you name me one Blues player?
Chuck.
How about another?
You know, I'm going to get to this, but you know what? I can't. But I'm not, because it's baseball.
And that is taken a little bit high. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Brett Hall's going into the Hall of Fame. Brian Leach.
Brian Leach.
I said Brian.
I thought you said Ryan.
No, Brian.
You only knew that because we're in New York.
B-R-I-A-N.
And you knew that because we were in New York, and that was some of the talk around town. Brian Leach. That's taken outside. 2 balls and a strike on Thurston, who struck out swinging. First time up in the second. Also committed an error that led to a run. Some of the Rams were represented before the game tonight.
And their rookie class was out here. Led by Justin Smith, their #1 pick.
2-1 is pulled foul.
Jason Smith.
Signing period opens July 2nd for the Dominican players. 16-year-olds can be signed out of the Dominican. We'll see if the Cardinals want to be aggressive there.
And they're a shortstop and also an outfielder that many clubs, including the Cardinals, have shown interest.
2-2. Instead of check on the runner. Big man out there. He took a while to throw this first pitch.
Oh, he
takes dead aim. The throw. No, look at this.
Not very fast.
You don't have to be.
He's an entertainer.
Yes, he is. They say he's got great personality, and let's hope he can block. On the ground to short. Out there, and a double play. We played 5 here at Busch Stadium. We'll tell you about a St. Louis kid who's made his way back to the major leagues when we come back. begins Tuesday, July 14th. Live from Busch Stadium here in St. Louis at 7, only on Fox. Cardinals have been out hit 4-2, and they trail 2-0. Sixth inning rolls in here to St. Louis. Kubel, Kadire, and Creedy. One of the 77 pitches thrown by Wainwright, 49 have been strikes. Kubel tonight with an RBI base hit and lines one into left center field. Extra bases here. That'll go to the wall. And he's 2 for 3.
Ball hit much better than his broken bat single that scored Mauer in the first inning, and then a untimely error by Thurston allows a second one. Good hitting going the other way with a pitch away from him, and he's in scoring position now. Activity starts in the Cardinal bullpen. Or no, looked like Mott just got up, went to the mound, and then picked up a ball and sat down.
Well, the Cubs, we talked about this at the start of play. They won on Giovanni Soto's 3-run shot, but it does come with some controversy as Milton Bradley, stop me if you've heard this before, he attacked a cooler in the dugout after he flied out in the top of the 6th. That led to an exchange, and apparently an angry one, with Lou Piniella, who told him to get dressed and go home. He left before the game was over, and Ryan Friel replaced him in right field in the bottom half of the inning.
Friel was just activated from the disabled list as Reed was put on the DL.
Kadire reached on an errand single. That's got to be driving their fans nuts, because they watch a fan favorite in DeRosa go to Cleveland, and they pick up Milton Bradley and spend that kind of money for that kind of production and result.
And somehow it just amazed me that no one would thought about those two personalities might clash at some time.
2-1 is lined over Schumacher into right center field. Rasmus over to get it. They'll wave in the runner Kubel. He will score 3-0 Minnesota.
Second hit for Kadire. Third time he's been on base. He hit the ball. That was the error by Thurston that scored the second run. And that slider today, that little cutter slider, really not doing much, sort of sitting there, and just not a lot of movement to it.
Start to stretch now in the Cardinals bullpen. Short lead at first by Kadire as he picks up his 39th RBI. And here's Joe Creedy. Mentioned that he grew up a Cardinals fan. He was with the White Sox when they won their championship in 2005. Tough to be a Cubs fan. The White Sox win in 05. The Cardinals then win in 06. High strike and a late call. We've seen that a couple of times tonight from our home plate umpire.
Creedy arguing with the pitch. So maybe Molina's lobbying is starting to help out.
Creedy is on an incentive-laden deal. He has 227 plate appearances now.
He had the back issues the last few years.
That's popped up right below us. And he is in the first of 6 $500,000 incentive payments. They kick in at $250, followed by $300, $350, $400, $450, and $475. Could jump up his deal to close to $5 million before it's all said and done. 0-2 pitch.
Those what you were talking about earlier the week that has been shut down. It has a big
Maglio Ordonez.
Ordonez, right?
He cut his hair the other day.
It's $18 million if he gets, like 260 appearances.
There's a big bonus this year, and then $18 million the following season. Goes down to get it. Base hit into center. That was a tough pitch there, and Creedy lines it into center field. 3 consecutive hits to start the inning for Minnesota.
We're talking about the fatigue factor starts hitting his, a hot, warm day, and just drops the bat head. Just really a defensive swing, but ball in the middle of the plate, and he makes solid contact out there in front of Rasmus. We are facing now the 8th man switch hitter, Tolbert.
Wainwright, by the way, is due up first for the Cardinals in their half of the 6th. Runners at first and second. Breaking ball pulled foul. Tolbert is 1 for 2. He singled in the 2nd inning. Flied out to left in the 4th. Then you have Perkins, who is 0 for 4 in his career and 0 for 1 tonight with a sacrifice on deck, and then the top of the lineup.
Not much of a hitter in Tolbert. 200 from the right side, his natural side, and came in 164 from the left side with only 3 RBIs.
Foul ball, strike 2. Hit the umpire. By the way, Bobby Keppel is the young St. Louisan that has made his way back to the major leagues after 2 years in the minors. It's been 2 years since he was last up. This is 3rd time in the big leagues, working out of the bullpen now for Minnesota. And he was a former first-round pick by the Mets out of DeSmet High School. And basically his pro career has been one of disappointment for him, obviously, not to be at this level, but used as a starter, so they're trying to see if he can make it as a reliever. Ayala was designated for assignment, so a team has 10 days to either trade him, release him, place him on waivers. Ron Gardenhire saw Ayala as a setup man to Nathan. They've got a very good closer with Minnesota. 1-2 the count. Adam needs a double play. Foul tip. Still alive is Tolbert. Kyle Loesch threw to hitters today, live baseball, so that was good to see. A step in the right direction.
Talked to Kyle, and it's almost to the point where he talked about 6 days from now he would make a rehab start in the minor leagues.
5th strikeout for Wainwright. Here it is this afternoon, a little bit before 4 o'clock, and Loesch facing hitters. He's talked about just trying to keep his arm strength during this period, but he said right now I'm not as sharp as where I need to be. It kind of feels like you're in the middle of spring training. There's Bernard Gilkey, who was out before the game. Good to see him out at the ballpark.
And I think, as I said, he would go down maybe as early as 6 days from now. He'd go down and make a rehab start. When he comes back,
that's bunted foul.
Some talk whether it be 1 or 2 starts down there. But if you kind of looked at the scheduling, if you put it back on the 5th day after there, it's an off day, and you wouldn't want to push back Wainwright, and that's the last day before the All-Star break. So, it might be better off for him to make 2 or 3 starts at the minor leagues and just let him come back in the second half.
Big crowd on this Friday night. Don't forget, Game 2 is tomorrow afternoon here on Fox Sports Midwest.
42,000 tickets sold for Saturday and Sunday, but there are tickets available for both afternoon games.
And we were talking about Mauer staying with Minnesota. Johan Santana did not do it. Torrey Hunter left. Can they keep everybody happy? Nathan, Mauer, and Morneau. Morneau is locked up with his $80 million deal, but he's scared, you think, what Mauer might get. Veritek isn't getting any younger in Boston. Jorge Posada with the Yankees.
Tony out to talk to Wainwright. No one warming up in the Cardinal bullpen, so this is just a conversation the manager wants to convey to his pitcher. And maybe go over the front defense with the infielders.
It seems to be confusion right now amongst the infielders after every pitch, trying to figure out exactly how they want to play it. Next telecast, Slowey with 10 wins against Wellemeyer, and we're on the air with the pregame show 11:30 tomorrow morning. You get the feeling as we talk about Loesch getting better. Starts for Wellemeyer and Thompson, very important individually.
And Thompson did not have a good outing in New York. Neither did Wellemeyer, but Welly trying to keep a very positive spin on things, and be interesting to see how he fares tomorrow.
Here's a 1-1 pitch. Late with the swing. It was in Yachty's glove before he was swinging. Interesting to see Molina do that. Once you charge as a third baseman, you know, Thurston, once he sees that swing and miss, he's got to get back to the bag just in case Green isn't there. Both were late in getting over.
Well, no place to go but to go back to your position after a swing and miss.
2 strikes. Let's see what Ron Gardenhire wants to do here.
See if they don't try a pickoff at second base. Might have had him if they did.
Wainwright only play to go to first. That almost scooted by him. So with 2 strikes, the sacrifice by Perkins, and it brings in Denard Span. Second sacrifice for Perkins. Sack 1-4 on the play, 2 outs, and 2 runners in scoring position. It's a big at bat right here to get the leadoff man Span and make sure that this stays 3-0.
Remember, he has very good speed. He's hit 3 balls on the ground, but
Span was one of 6 Twins who began the season in the minor leagues a year ago, but ended up making a significant impact on the big league club. That pitch taken a little bit low. He is 0 for 3 tonight. Said he never wants to go back to the minor leagues after 5 rough years and expectations that were not met. Hit .340 in 40 games with Rochester. 2 stints with Minnesota. Hit .294 at 18 steals a year ago. Could play all 3 outfield positions. He's in center tonight.
I don't know if he's been leading off the entire year, but he does have 24 RBIs and 4 home runs. Last year, just under 300, 6 home runs and 47 RBIs, 18 stolen bases. Got 12 this year.
Thinking along with Tony La Russa here, Wainwright is due up first, and then you have the left-handed hitters Mauer and Morneau coming up. You might see this be it for Wainwright and the lefties coming in next inning.
It's the 14th straight time that Wainwright, with 1 more out, would be the 14th straight start that he's pitched at least 6 innings.
2 balls and a strike. Runners at second and third. Outfield is straight away and shallow. Broken bat on a hop to Schumacher. Minnesota, though, adds to their lead. It's 3-0. Wainwright due up first when we come back. Making his 16th start of the season tomorrow against Kevin Slowey. And how about the numbers on Slowey? ERA of just over 4, but he is 10-2. Only 14 walks and 67 strikeouts. 84 2/3 innings pitched this year. Wellemeyer, 16th start of the season tomorrow. Fell to 6-7 on the year with a 6-4 loss. That was Monday at Citi Field in New York. He allowed 10 hits, 5 runs, and 5 2/3. Well, the Cardinals would love to see him be more aggressive, better body language, and hopefully a win in Game 2 of this series.
In the bottom of 6, and Wainwright hitting for himself. Now he's pinch hit 4 different times, but he's going to go back out there as no one's warming up in the bullpen.
Cardinals with 2 base hits tonight, out hit 7-2, trail by 3. Twins in many ways have to be creative in how they do things. Their scouting department and player development has to be better than most because of that low payroll.
That's what I said. When they have always done an amazing job with very little money, and they have to not only sign those players, but they develop a lot from within.
Pretty good lineup right now when you've got Mauer and Morneau, Creedy. This is a team that could win, and they've been pitching very well.
That's why they're another team that just feels like they're a long winning streak away from taking over. 5 games back in second place at Detroit.
Ground out by Wainwright. After the game, Cardinals Live is broadcast from the Aqua Bar at Lumiere Place Casino. Watch player interviews and Tony La Russa plus Pat Paris and Rick Horton break down the game. It's U.S. Cellular Cardinals Live after the game on Fox Sports Midwest. Tyler Green struck out his first time. 2 base hits, 3 strikeouts on the night, and no walks allowed by Perkins. To his left, Harris. Nice play. Back to the top of the order and Skip Schumacher, and let's turn now to the Aflac trivia question. With 2 outs and nobody on here in the 6th inning. Which Cardinal had the most RBIs in the '87 World Series? Let Tommy Herr. McGee and Pena.
Only 4.
Wow.
As you said, Cardinals won 3 games, 3 home games, and the Twins won the 4 home games. Well, now you see Reyes warming up, the former Twin.
But is he up late because he knows he's going to come in later in the inning, or will he start the inning? Leading off for Minnesota in the 7th, it's Harris, and then you've got Mauer and Morneau.
One thing about a game like this, or an evening like this, it doesn't take long to warm up. So it could start the inning or wait and see if anybody gets on. Especially, I don't think Tony would be afraid to let Adam face Brendan Harris tonight with what he's done.
Not at all. And I think that's probably what's going into his thinking, is let him face the first hitter and then take him out. 1-2 pitch. Chopped to short. And we have played 6 innings here at Busch Stadium. The Cardinals have a total of 2 hits. They trail by 3.
RBI by Cool back in the first inning. Then the error by Thurston. They get 2 early runs. Nice play by Ankiel, and then here a ground ball. So Harris finally does make contact after striking out 3 times. He grounds out to short, and we'll see if Tony makes that decision now with the left-handers coming out, or just wait till somebody gets on base.
Mauer tonight on base 3 times with 2 walks, a run scored, and a single back in the third. And Morneau, who's on deck, has walked and scored in the first inning. Cardinals trail 3-0. We're in the 7th.
You know, you always ask me, you have a serious question.
Well, I have to phrase that sometimes.
I'd like to ask you one.
Yes, sir.
Do we need more than 1 bat?
It's starting to look that way, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
The one thing I guess you feel decent about is that Ludwig, you're just waiting more so with him maybe than the others. You know, Ankiel was still a work in progress.
I will agree with that.
You know, before the injury. But the question then becomes, how long can you wait when you have a chance to win this division?
And one of the other questions is without a power hitting Ankiel and a power hitting Duncan, you know, where's their real value?
Nice play by Albert. To Wainwright to hit away. Great play.
The former Gold Glover wants to show people that he's much more than just a bat. We know that as he's such a complete player. His ability to run the bases, ability to hit, but he's also, after a slow start defensively, he has played very good and gold caliber play in the field.
I'm going to ask you a serious question.
Okay.
What would you say to Albert Pujols if you, and I'm being serious about this, because he'd be the one that would come to certain individuals and say, you watch my game, what do you think I need to work on? What is, I mean, the guy runs the bases well, he hits for power, hits for average, doesn't strike out, he's Gold Glover over there. I mean, there's just not anything that stands out where you say, wow, great hitter, he comes through in the clutch, but you know, needs to do this a little bit better.
Work on his facial art.
That's
shaving.
It.
Yes.
We can help him. We'll call up Dustin Hermanson. We'll get him on the phone and get him here.
And I just, it's not my favorite feature of Albert right now. And I am an authority on facial hair.
I will agree with you on that. It's the most we've gotten along all night. So tell me, give me a weakness, anything. I'd love to see the Minnesota charts on Pujols. They sit there in a hitter's meeting and say, watch how this guy does it. Then the pitchers get in there and they say, okay, let's look at the charts.
Well, you know, he's a model citizen, so
that's the other thing.
I mean, so you can't get into some of the, say, well, he's got a problem off the field or he's got a problem here or there, but there have been, and I won't name the player.
I'm going to walk to Morneau. I visited, by the way, with Bob Dupay today from Major League Baseball, and he was talking about Pujols and just being the perfect guy to represent the game right now with the steroid era and all he does in the community. Cardinals are hosting several labor union appreciation nights this summer. Labor union members and their families can purchase discounted all-inclusive tickets for games throughout the summer. STLCardinals.com/union.
Reyes is set down now, and Perez is starting to throw, but
so you have a player.
I had a player, and I'm not going to name him, but this was years ago. Cardinals were going over a scouting report, and one of his former teammates who played with this guy, they're going over this name. He said, well, wait a minute, go on to the others. I'm going to go check something. Went over to the other clubhouse, came back, and he said, forget it. He had a rough night last night. There's no way to pitch to him.
4 walks. But Wainwright is through 7, 3-0. Your world delivered. And by the double cheeseburger extra value meal, now just $2.99 at McDonald's. Part of the lineup here for the Cardinals, 2, 3, and 4, Rasmus, Pujols, and Ludwig. Cardinals with 2 base hits, a double by Albert back in the first inning, and a single in the 5th by Ricky Ankiel. That's it. Out hit 7-2. Rasmus trying to bunt his way on. And he is safe.
I thought about the last time up that maybe Kobe Rasmus needs to drop down a bunt. He's 0 for his last 18. He's got good speed, and I always thought about Rod Carew, as Rod Carew, the perennial American League batting champion, always said when he would never go into a prolonged slump because of his ability to bunt. And see how Monroe plays the tag right there, just misses Kobe as he slides, reaches out, gets the bag, and maybe he can get something going with Albert coming up.
You could see he was out of the outer lane, that line right there, to avoid the tag. First pitch to Pujols, strike.
That's kind of an interesting thing, because you're always out of that lane when you're running for an extra base hit.
Sure.
But what's the difference?
Yep. And it's never called that way. It's always called the other way, in the field of play.
Exactly.
0-1 pitch to Albert. Tanking low, 1 ball, 1 strike.
Bob and Wanda Taylor down in Little Rock watching Kimberly, their 15-year-old granddaughter, really pulling for something special here from Albert.
Pujols sitting on 26 home runs. Popped up, out of play, into the seats. This crowd is ready to erupt with anything positive. This is game 1 of the 7-game homestand, and the Cardinals will face arguably the best pitching staff in the National League, with Kane, Lincecum, Randy Johnson. Very good from San Francisco.
Get those bats healthy. You got to get them going right now. Fastball, but
Albert pops it up. Left side. And is it playable? No. Into the dugout. Good effort by Joe Creedy. Albert's got a life. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Rasmus the runner at first. Pujols a double inside the first baseline. First time up. Flied out to right. His second time up. Ludwig on deck, who's 0 for 2. This lefty is not even at 70 pitches yet. The 1-2 pitch. In the air out to left. Hits it a mile high. Kubel with 2 hands makes the catch. And that's the first out. Just steps from the arch in Busch Stadium. Enjoy unmatched hospitality and a prime location at the Hyatt Regency St. Louis Riverfront. Take advantage of Hyatt's exclusive baseball package that includes overnight accommodations, your choice of 2 or 4 Cardinals tickets, and check out the Hyatt Regency St. Louis Riverfront. Ludwig is fly to right, fly to center. Ball scoots away, but Rasmus staying put.
Well, this team is station to station, isn't it?
And you'd love to see Tony try anything, something, but if you don't get on, there's nothing you can do.
But times like this, when you see this long a separation, you've got to have that secondary lead, and you got to take off. Anticipate, be alert, be ready that if the ball gets away. You don't steal. Rarely do we hit and run, and when Albert's not, hitting, everything really slows down. And the guys that have been hitting lately, have only been hitting singles.
Mauer out to visit, 2 balls and no strikes. The guy that Tony La Russa has hit and run with the most is Albert Pujols, and after that it's Yadier Molina. Would you want to try something here? You're down. It's starting to get late, but you are ahead in the count, 2 balls and no strikes. You feel confident enough that Ludwig would make contact here just to get something going.
You think he's going to throw a strike.
That's outside, 3-0.
Ball's outside, but probably with a tough pitch. But Rasmus was going back to the first base bag when Perkins was pitching. Jerry White introduced me to Lynn Perkins before the game. He was just very laughing, just having a good old time. Nice to see how relaxed he was.
So you actually talked to a starting pitcher on the day that he was pitching?
Well, first base coach introduced me to him, and then we had a little conversation. So
very nice. Ice Age: Dawn of the Dinosaurs, hatched in theaters July 1st. The coolest comedy of the summer.
I think I'm going to take your kids to see that.
3-1.
If you're going to run, you think it might do it here. So Twins playing along with that thought. Throw over to first. Just do something.
Rasmus is leaning, not going, and Ludwig hits it in the air out to shallow left center field. Span under it. Let's go pitch by pitch. As Ludwig was ahead, 3 balls and no strikes. Perkins comes back to get him. This is brought to you by Chevrolet.
He has not walked a man, so not afraid. But there you see off-speed pitch, change up, gets away, down 2-0, and he misses away, gets a called strike, and the same pitch. This time Ludwig pops it up.
9 ground ball outs, 8 fly ball outs. Up to Ricky Ankiel to extend the inning.
Almost every time Perkins goes home, Rasmus's first step is back to the first base bag.
You were talking about Omir Santos of the Mets the other day and how well he's been calling and receiving games. The Twins rave about Joe Mauer and feel that that gets overlooked. How he is able to control his pitching staff. Just how good he is at studying the opposition. It's not what he's doing at the plate as a hitter. Everybody knows about that, but defensively, how good he is.
And I think that's why he's so proud of that Gold Glove. And what that signifies is because that's something that shows all the hard work that he's put in.
Came to the Twins as an 18-year-old. Ankiel, right center field. That'll get down. Rasmus. He is flying around the bases. He'll be brought in. He'll score. 2-out base hit. Rasmus scores to cut the lead to 3-1, and the tying run comes to the plate. Ankiel now with 2 base hits.
With a very streaky hitter with very few positive streaks this year, but he's 2 for 3 in this game. Remember, he got a double for his only hit in New York against Santana. So here's another extra base hit against a left-handed pitcher. And Rasmus with that good speed. He may be going back to first, but his speed will make up for it. And the Cardinals are on the board to the delight of their fans.
When he gets going, Colby Rasmus, boy, he is just motoring around the bases. Smooth, too. 2 outs, runner at second base for Yadier Molina. Molina with 5 home runs.
Molina right now, probably, other than Albert Pujols, is the first guy you'd want up there in an RBI situation.
He wants that pitch back, too. That was right down the middle.
Well, he's so good when he goes to the opposite field, and he got a pitch that, in his mind, he felt like he could have driven it.
Mentioned that Joe Nathan is their outstanding closer. Molina pops it up and out of play. Into the seats. No balls, 2 strikes with 2 outs and a runner at second base. Inning by inning. The most he has thrown, 16 pitches here in the 7th, and only at 79.
And remember the disadvantage even the Twins pitchers have pitching at home, and controlled conditions when they go on the road. I remember Houston pitchers years ago when they would get ready to go on a road trip, and this was playing at the Dome, they would start running outside to try and condition to, you know, the heat in other cities.
A couple of games against Milwaukee, it was in the mid-90s.
I'm going to say there may be more conditioned for this weather than the Cardinals are.
Very much so. 1-2 with 2 outs. Fielders awfully deep for Yadier Molina. Gap in the left center.
They saw the replay of the final out of yesterday's game, and well, Weird would be more concerned about the right and center fielder, and they've got Twins haven't played perfect with Molina shading right field.
A ball and 2 strikes. Runner at second base with 2 outs. Molina to first and caught by Morneau. Cardinals will get on the board. RBI double by Ankiel, his 20th RBI of the season. Dyer back in the 3rd inning and gunning down the runner at the plate. That would be Mauer. At that point, it kept it 2-0. Minnesota added another run. Did so in the 6th inning, and the Cardinals picked up a run in their half of the 7th, and it's 3-1.
You see Perkins talking to their pitching coach. He does that after every inning.
Chevy called to the bullpen. Here's Chris Perez. Last time we saw him, he was not sharp in New York.
Told you he's an engaging young man that doesn't really seem like he's too bothered with anything. Right, Perez got roughed up a little bit in that game. Didn't retire a batter.
Numbers on Chris this season: 29th appearance. Opponents hitting .202.
15 walks in 22+ innings.
Teron Gardenhire, no reason to take him out of this game. The way that he's pitched so far, only 4 hits allowed. You've got the bottom of the order coming up. Thurston, Perez's spot, and then Green. That inning could have been a lot easier for Perez if he goes and covers the bag at first base. You might remember.
Right.
And also there was a drop fly ball out in the left center field. 3-1 pitch. In the air to center. Colby Rasmus calling for it and makes the catch.
And that's so much of your learning process is how do you bounce back.
This copyrighted telecast is presented by the authority of the Cardinals and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of the game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the St. Louis Cardinals. Joe Crede talked about his excitement in coming back to St. Louis. Gets it to third. Joe Thurston is there. First time playing at the new Busch Stadium. In 2001, he was called up by the White Sox as part of interleague play. Joining the fun of Major League Baseball's All-Star Summer. Bring your family to Major League Baseball's All-Star Fan Fest, July 10th through the 14th at America's Center. For tickets, go to allstargame.com or by calling 888-FANFEST.
Well, our buddy Dick Zitzman from Stan the Man Inc. has a big signing that Monday where he had a lot of all the Cardinal Hall of Famers, including Stan the Man, and a lot of other people, Molitor and others, will be in town at the Bowling Hall of Fame on that Monday.
It's the 11th, the 12th, and the 13th, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. MAB-celebrity.com to find out more. MAB-celebrity.com to find out more, or 800-688-3630. 800-688-3630. Some of the biggest names of all time in baseball will be here in St. Louis at that signing.
Yeah, not just should rephrase that and say not just Cardinal Hall of Famers and some of the Cardinal favorites, but just about anybody in baseball.
Tolbert is 1 for 3. And Perez gets a strikeout. Bottom of the 8th coming up. Bottom of the order. 3-1 Minnesota. Bullpen. It's 3-1.
And Carlos Gomez is taking over in center field as part of the double switch.
Call to bullpen brought to you by Chevy. Joe Thurston is the first hitter for St. Louis. So Carlos Gomez in center field. Guerrero takes over on the mound. And Span is in left field. Thurston hustling, and he's safe. Leadoff base hit. Duncan will come up with a chance to tie it. So Duncan, the pinch hitter for the Cardinals. Hustling all the way, Thurston. He's had a tough night. Committed an error. Struck out back in the second. Hit into a double play in the 5th, but picks up the infield hit. Tying run at the plate, and Chris Duncan.
See, Gutierrez 37th appearance. He was claimed off of waivers from Pittsburgh back in the offseason of '03. Been every year with Minnesota since that time. Good ERA under 3. And Duncan 0 for his last 10, but he could be a difference maker in this ball game.
Baltimore beat Washington 11-1. Toronto over the Phillies 6-1. Cleveland over Cincinnati 9-2. Pittsburgh beat Kansas City 5-3. Mentioned the Cubs won earlier. 3-1 Minnesota in our ball game here in the bottom of the 8th. Duncan, base hit out to left. First 12 reached. It's so easy to second guess in this game, but the way that their starter was going, wasn't like he was going deep into a pitch count and the bottom of the order coming out.
Yeah, it didn't seem like his pitch count was that high, but one thing about Duncan, they feel like throw the ball out of way, and he's been going a lot to the opposite field of late.
Here's Tyler Green. Let's see how Tony La Russa wants to play this.
It's just the way the Cardinals are swinging the bat, and how deep all the outfielders are. Doubtful any base hit to the outfield. They can't throw Thurston out at the plate, but will they bunt?
They do. Bunted towards third, and a foul ball. Go back to Duncan for just a moment, Al. In visiting with Larry Walker, he said, you know, people always talked about my physical skills. He said the thing that I was able to do was I conquered the mental side of baseball, which is so tough for anybody. And he said the one guy that he watches now that thinks he's really done the mental side better than most, not to say he's conquered it, but is Chris Duncan. He said you looked at Duncan when he first came to the major leagues trying to play outfield. Very tough for him to do. He said now he's made himself serviceable.
Yes, and Larry's been part of that help, you know, working with him in spring training. I remember Mark McGuire saying that he thought that Chris was way ahead of him at the same age.
2 strikes on Green.
Green had a tough time getting it down. That is inexcusable when you're a player, the type of player that Green is. He has to be able to do the job.
We have been here early, and that's something they have been working on constantly with Green bunting. He and Brendan Wright.
Well, I mean, they're the type of guys that just have to be able to do that to stay at this level. You know, you can't expect them to, you know, to be guys that are consistently driving the ball and driving in runners. So they've got to do the little things.
Oh, 2 pitch. Batted back by Green. Some boos here from the folks at Busch Stadium.
Well, that's what they're talking about. You know, they're trying to be supportive of guys, but guys have to be able to do the little things to help the team win. Those are the, you know, they're not going to be the guys that are going to be the leaders. They're going to be the contributors.
Slow walk by Ron Gardenhire. Couple lefties coming up, so a lefty coming in.
Cheers.
So Schumacher's due up when we come back.
on ERA during that time. We called from AAA Rochester in the end of May, end of April.
Broken back, slowly hit, and a double play. 3-1 Minnesota. Take a look at Adam Wainwright. Cards lefty trouble. Ank the Tank returns, and Tony Stank on this take on this ball game. And Ryan Franklin, the Cardinals closer, needs some work, so he is in. 3-1. Minnesota with the lead. They've out hit the Cardinals 7-6.
Ryan has 17 saves, equaling his 08 season. And he picked up number 17 in Kansas City last Saturday, and he hasn't pitched since then. So needs to get some work.
Big crowd, and they have been entertained to an extent. But the Cardinals struggled offensively again here tonight. 44,159.
I know Kyle Sims and his dad Bill from Mason City, Illinois are a little disappointed, but who knows? We might see one of those great rallies in the bottom of the ninth.
Here's Carlos Gomez. 33 steals last year, most for a Twins player since Otis Dixon stole 37 back in 1998. Remember, he was with the Mets, came over to Minnesota from the Dominican Republic. 23 years old and a swing and a miss, 0-2. Nathan, outstanding closer. He's had some great years in the past, and he's getting loose. 0-2 pitch to Gomez. Too short. Tyler Green makes the play.
It's one of those times when you hope Ryan Franklin, which is quite often, has one of those real efficient innings. This little tune-up and get him ready for the rest of the weekend.
Cardinals will have Rasmus, Pujols, and Ludwig coming up. So still
they got their shot.
Yep, some big thunder coming up. Span is 0 for 4. Back to the top of the order for Minnesota. On the outside corner. Remember when Franklin first started this year? His innings were quick. They were efficient. He was carving up hitters, and he was having outings that were only 6, 7, 8 pitches.
But they were just like this. 4 pitches thrown, 4 strikes.
0-1 pitch. Good late movement on that pitch. A breaking ball. 1-1. Franklin still with the facial hair on the chin. Jason Mott no longer.
Talked to Jason about it. He said he was trimming it up the other day and he nicked one side. Then he tried to even it up and made it worse. So all got shorter. Franklin he hasn't touched his and put clippers or and even put a tweezer to it, let alone the scissors.
Forgot what he looks like without it.
What a handsome man he is.
I'll take your word for it. 2 balls and a strike on Span. Ground ball to Albert. He'll take it himself. 2 away. Again, we're on the air tomorrow at 11:30 in the morning with the pregame show. Second game of this 3-game series. I know Ricky and Pat will talk about it post-game show, but lefties have given the Cardinals fits. Interleague record this season, and Minnesota has been great at 10-5, but really that's been the case for them over the last few years. As Al told you, they're right there with the Yankees as far as the best record in interleague play.
Cardinals have done well in interleague play, but
this is a Minnesota team that's 13-22 on the road. 13-22. One-oh pitch. Foul back. 1 ball, 1 strike.
It's not like they, have slugged Wainwright and knocked him out of the game. They got 3 runs off of Wainwright, but 2 of those were earned, 1 unearned run.
The Cardinals later in this series will face Francisco Liriano. With the buzz around Liriano when he first arrived on the scene and he had surgery. He and Santana were as tough as any 1-2 punch for a while in the game. And this year, Liriano 5.88 ERA and 3-8.
Right.
Had that surgery, and a lot of folks around Minnesota felt that he was afraid to throw. Because of that surgery, it took him a while to get over the mental hump to throw and release the baseball. 2-1 pitch. 3-1.
Pitch before, and you see Franklin snapping back at the ball, but the pitch before, I know Molina was very upset with the umpire again.
Three-one pitch on its way. Harris has had a tough night. 3 strikeouts. He's grounded out to short. On deck, Mauer. Wainwright was able to get him with a breaking ball 3 different occasions.
Fastball away, I believe.
Harris came into tonight's play hitting .292.
Cardinal pitching staff has done a good job of keeping the first 2 off bases for the big guys to follow, but slider.
3-2 pitch. Shallow right, sends us to the bottom of the 9th. 3-1. Minnesota with the lead, but the big bats coming up. Rasmus will lead it off, followed by Pujols and Ludwig.